For a century, the Galactic Council saw mankind as a marginal race. They were tolerated but not taken seriously by the Yari, Trasans, or the old race of elders. The Terran Strategic Command was formed in secret, and Earth resolved to quit playing by their rules. The plan was simple: create a massive, terrifying fleet so that no alien empire would dare to oppose them again. The first ship, Leviathan I, was built in places no sane person would go, hollowing out dwarf planets wrapped in layers of neutron-forged alloys and fusing entire asteroid belts into superstructure skeletons. Some of the battleships were the size of full moons, while others were the same size. These behemoths housed whole military communities and millions of warriors. As the first ship, Leviathan I, activated its primary drive, the entire dark side of the renegade planet lighted up like a newborn sun. This sheer power altered the equilibrium of the cosmos. The Council ridiculed human superstition, labeling it idiots. However, they had already deployed 7 world ships and 12 almost finished flotillas of dreadnoughts and support cruisers. The Council called Earth to a meeting, but the President refused to attend. Instead, he delivered a message that would reverberate across cosmic history: "We are done kneeling." 2 days later, Leviathan I arrived in Council space, the biggest spaceship ever seen there. It appeared from Fold space right beyond Ithra Prime's capital system, with no fanfare or notice. The stars were clear until they were covered by a wall of steel and wrath. General Thomas Mercer, the Terran leader, snarled his voice, bearing the weight of a man who had sacrificed everything for this moment. He had given all for this moment, with all systems green and armaments blazing, and Commander Juno at the tactical station having yet to respond hostilely. The Council fleets were not even close to prepared, and their orbital batteries designed to repel pirate incursions were laughable against Leviathan's armor. Mercer went to the command deck, patched the crew in, and routed communications through the ship's primary transceiver, which was powerful enough to reach every capital world on the Council grid. When Mercer spoke, his voice boomed throughout the cosmos, suggesting that the Terran Empire was ready to confront the alien empire. Strategic command takes effect immediately, as Earth withdraws from any Council agreements, and any hostile action would be met with overwhelming force. The Council room erupted into turmoil, as the Ithri envoy screamed about unlawful acts of war. The Trasans demanded consequences after what they had done to Solier Prime. The Firstborn disregarded their old faces, but they could see they were scared. Reports appeared of many ships mobilizing, and Juno verified the convergence of Outer Ring defense forces on Earth's location. When Mercer deployed the screen over the vacuum, smaller Terran dreadnoughts and cruisers started to emerge from Leviathan's hangars. It was incredible to see a complete fleet emerge from inside a single ship with thousands of holes. According to Juno, the flagship recognized Trasan war barge Dominion's Fist as the one spearheading the assault. The Trasans took a defensive stance, and the Mercer ordered no first attack unless fired upon. After a few minutes, the enemy fleet drew in, hundreds of ships in close formation, guns charged. A single energy lance launched from Dominion's Fist flew toward one of our vanguard ships, a mistake they would never regret. Mercer ordered no survivors, and the Council fleet was destroyed within an hour. The message was blasted across all channels: "Here is Earth's power, try us again, and we shall burn." However, triumph came at a cost, and within days, the galaxy was in turmoil. Emergency Council sessions called for joint military action, and multiple species abandoned old rivalries to form a counter-alliance. The second strike arrived earlier than expected, with a combined fleet of over 10,000 Firstborn Etheri Trasan ships descending on the Vega Corridor, one of Earth's key trade routes. Their plan was to cut us off, starving our outlying colonies, and compel a submission. They were unaware that a second Leviathan, Oblivion, had already been launched. The Battle of Vega lasted 6 hours, and the enemy fleet was reduced to floating debris and radioactive husks. The message was clear: mankind should not be underestimated. Back on Earth, the President spoke to the people, declaring that unity, diplomacy, and collaboration had been replaced by a new ideology of power, revenge, and supremacy. Some questioned the expense, but they were drowned out by the clamor of triumph. For the president, triumph was inevitable, and the galaxy would not let it force its hand. The Council's Grand Alliance, long a bastion of mankind, started to fray as the Atheres race lost faith. The Supreme Commander of Terran troops authorized unannounced attacks around the Outer Ring, targeting shipyards, fuel stores, and communication nodes. The first target was the Ithari, who had their colonies destroyed by Dominion's cannons. The Council responded with posturing and false threats, but tensions were increasing inside the alliance. The Trassans accused the Firstborn of cowardice, while the Athari sought more ships from their allies. The Rith Collective, a tiny race with a strong fleet, openly promised fealty to Earth in return for safety. The Firstborn eventually migrated, and they hadn't fought a true war in millennia. Their arrogance was clear in their armor, yet Earth's intelligence agents reported fierce disagreements inside the alliance. The Athari wanted additional ships from their friends, but none were ready to comply. The Rith Collective, a tiny race with a huge fleet, openly committed fealty to Earth in return for safety. The fight was scheduled for the Epsilon Aerodani corridor, with Leviathan 1, 2, and Dominion joined by the whole Terran fleet. The combat was fraught with anxiety as the enemy came, accompanied by giant black hole-powered Leviathans with energy fields older than their race. The Earth's Leviathans held their lead ships while the Judicator Armada detonated bombs inside their formations. Despite the enemy's arrogance, the Earth's Leviathans defeated the Judicators by piercing the main shield of the Judicator flagship with a full-powered Singularity core. This devastating explosion absorbed half the enemy formation, and the Earth's dreadnought wings were all that was required to shatter the Judicators. The Firstborn, had vanquished the Council in tatters and dispatched envoys asking for protection or surrendering completely. Not everyone was willing to submit, therefore the Athari High Conclave issued a desperate cry for revenge. They detected their intentions, resulting in a multi-species attack force of 50,000 spacecraft forming near the Pentas Expanse. Their purpose was to destroy Earth. The Leviathans, led by General Mercer, disseminated false information and set up a trap to deceive the enemy fleet. They launched a new project named Gorgon, which included experimental weaponry that beyond the limits of physics, gravitic resonance fields, temporal destabilizers, and planetary-scale EMP bursts. As the enemy fleet approached the heliopause, Gorgon stations triggered space itself, causing ripples in hostile ships, losing power personnel, reporting time loops, sensor ghosts, and systems failing one by one. Within 2 hours, the enemy was gone, and the film was disseminated globally. The Terran Union emerged as an empire rather than a unified Earth, and the stars became theirs. Mercer, lauded as Supreme Imperator Hail, went into the Black Projects, and reports circulated that even darker weapons were being developed. As the Firstborn joined the conflict, the scent of ionized metal permeated Dominion's bottom decks. The last criterion was straightforward: if you're breathing, you're helpful. The Judicator Armada, a fleet of titanic boats city-sized or bigger and clad in black metallic scales, glowed with unusual energy.